Recording. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It looks like we got a lot of people looks like everybody who was in the Python session is back here for some more coding. This time in the JavaScript session. We're glad to have you back and welcome to the second week of the JavaScript session of Tech Bytes. You guys already know who we are. Quick introduction. I'm Rayan, rising senior at James B. Conant High School. You know the whole spiel. Check me out on my website at rayansadiki.com. Andrew?
Also know me, freshman, going to Purdue University, all that coding stuff. Here's my website. So let's get right into it.
Yep. All right. So I'm pretty sure that we have had everybody join the Google Classroom, which is awesome. I think we're just missing one person. I believe Sadan. I believe I did not see your name on the Google Classroom. So please, when you get a chance, please be sure to join the Google Classroom so you can stay communicated with us and in the loop. Anyway, let's move on. All right.
So our agenda for today, we're going to go over that maze block code from last week's section. As we know, we suggested that you go over some of the sorry, someone say something like in the chat?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, so as I was saying, we're gonna go over some of the maze puzzles that we suggested that you go over the last week. Of course, it isn't required, but just a quick refresher, get your mind set into it. We're gonna do a quick discussion about programming and all the other stuff we're going to talk about today. Talk about some terms. We're gonna learn some terminology. Some things called variables. I think everybody here already learned about variables from last session, but we are going to talk about some new things like functions in a bit.
Yep.
So, and then we're going to get to some more advanced variants of the block coding. All right.
Yep. All right. So, a quick recap of what we did last week, guys. We have some people who were here last week. We started off with the basic puzzle activity, and I want to remind you guys of what the purpose of that activity was. It was to show how information in a computer is organized and how we have to make sure that when we're typing code, that information has to be organized. And today, we'll show you how exactly that information is organized through something called functions. And we'll get into more of the nitty-gritty in a bit. And today, we will be finishing the maze activity. Over the past week, we asked you guys to do the levels 3 to 6. And a lot of you guys, which is awesome, did more till 7, I believe, and more. And that's great. We love that you guys are having fun and indulging in more of the activities. Today, we will be going over the answers, making sure there's no confusion. And we're going to finish till level 8 of the maze activity. We're going to keep the last 2 levels off for next week because they have some concepts, which we're going to cover next week. But yeah. So
did you realize that you had to use multiple blocks along to repeat statements in the last week's maze activity? This is just some discussions over the maze.
And it's fine if you do not respond right now because we're going to go over what these mean in a bit. So this is it's your mind thinking.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to go to the next slide. Here we go. All right. So before we get onto the block coding website and start going over some of the answers and doing some new activities, we want to go over some terminology because there was some terminology which we did not discuss and you guys experienced and played around with last week, which we feel is important for you guys to know. Andrew?
All right, so previously we talked about variables in the last session. The same thing applies here. Variables store a value. If you have some collection of items, how do you store them? Well, you put them each into a box. We usually to organize them or format them or usually plan them for later use. Next slide.
Yeah, and if anybody wants to recap or go over what the exact details were, we're going to be posting these sessions on YouTube. So be sure to hop on over there and check it out later if you would like. So
I don't think we have to go into this slide again because I think it's a little too long.
Yep, definitely, because we have everybody who was there last time. As usual, if you want to go check it out on the YouTube channel, but we'll get into some new information now. That being, what are functions? Now, we want you guys to connect, as we connected variables to being like a box which you store information into, we want you guys to connect functions to being like a routine. Think about them being like when you wake up in the morning, right? You have a routine. You go to the bathroom, you brush your teeth, you come out, you eat breakfast, and you watch some videos or whatever the case might be. Well, functions are similar because functions hold your routine. Functions in coding, they have lines of code which execute and do different types of commands, and they change variables and a lot of other cool stuff. But for now, think of those functions being routines which execute commands and get things done.
All right, and to address what Shar just said in the group chat, we will probably be posting the YouTube channel name to the Google Classroom.
Yep, so that link will be available in the daily recap in about 45 minutes when you finish this session up.
Yeah, so hang on tight.
Yep.
So let's talk about something called the yin and yang of variables and functions. So the best way I could put it is that variables and functions are like opposite to each other, but they have like this interdependent relationship. So like usually when you have variables, you assign values to these variables based on the routines you do. On the other hand, you have functions or like routines that are usually determined by the value of variables. So here's like an example, day-to-day life. You know, if your stomach is empty and you're about to eat dinner, you're going to eat a big dinner. The next day, you're going to eat a big dinner and your stomach's going to be full. The next day, stomach's going to still be full. All right, tomorrow I'm going to eat a small breakfast. See how there's a bit of a relationship there. Functions are sort of like the eating routine in this instance. And the variables is like your stomach because it's like containing all that food. So just know that when you're dealing with functions, you usually need variables to input into them. And when you have variables, you usually have functions that assign values into them. So yeah.
All right. Now, last week, when you guys were attempting to do the levels 3 to 6 of the maze exercise, you probably ran into something called loops or repeat statements. Now, we wanted you guys to, the way we're running these courses is we want you guys to first try out, learn, like see what things do, and then we want to provide a formal explanation of what they do. And the formal explanation of what a loop is, or like that repeat statement, the green blocks, which you used to complete those exercises, is loops are like a set of instructions which you keep on following until a certain condition is met. Now, like an analogy, like we've been providing analogies, think about them like certain chores, which you have to keep on doing until your mom says, hey, it's okay for you to go into your room and play some video games or watch some YouTube videos. In the same way, loops are set in a way that until a condition is met or until a certain number of times a loop is ran, that the code and the material inside that loop must keep on being executed. Now, let me see if this rings a bell. Andrew, you want to talk about how in the block coding there were loops here?
Yeah. So for the maze, a lot of times we have loops in it to simplify actions. In this case, if we want to continually move forward, you could just write down like, sit on your chair and type in like 20 different move commands, and that would probably take a long time. But we do have a simpler solution if you're a programmer. You just use a loop. And in this case, that condition is that you loop until you get to the exit. In that case, the location on the marker on the map. Yep. So that is an excellent example of how you would use loops to simplify your code.
All right. So now, before we jump back into the block coding website, we hope that the maze exercises now make a bit more sense. And we've learned a lot about variables through the last session. We learned about what functions are and how they hold information and they're like a routine of code being executed. And now loops allow us to minimize the amount of code we have to write by making our lives easier and running tasks repeatedly until a condition is met. If anybody's any question, we would love to answer right now. But other than that, we're going to revisit last week's exercises and do some new exercises this week. So let's begin. All right, so please load up the website. Here is the URL. And a quick recommendation which we have is that you guys should probably favorite the website of the Python block coding website and the JavaScript block coding website to find it easier. So please type in that URL and open it. I'm going to clear my data. Once everybody is on, just write, I'm good, I'm ready, so we'll begin. All right, looks like we have everybody mostly ready.
We need like Sadan Sharia to say ready, I think.
Yeah, Sadan, here we go. Sharia, you good? Yep, all right.
All right, we're all ready.
All right, so let's begin. All right, so.
Wait, hold on, someone said just that it did not save my work.
Just that it just, I think she meant to say just did that, it did not save my work. The website should keep track of what you're doing. Do not hit the clear solutions button like I did, because I was just trying to show you guys the solution once again. I didn't want to keep the answers right there on the screen. So.
Sorry if that that happened to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. We're not here like, looking over your shoulders, making sure that you complete everything. So we just want you guys to get a feel of things. All right, so with that basic terminology we talked about, we want to now begin and put that into context and start some of these activities, and that being the maze activity from last week. So we asked you guys to do the levels 3 to 6. We're just going to quickly go over them, and then we'll get into the harder ones and progress through the maze activity. So level 3. Here is the loop command, which Andrew was talking about, and how we can just use it to simplify our lives. Notice how we don't have to use like 20, 25 different move forward commands. That will get pretty tiring. Drag, drop, adding so many move forward commands. But this loop, which the condition is, hey, this is essentially what the computer is being told with this. These lines of code are telling the computer that, hey, keep running whatever's inside this loop until my character is reached the end, the destination, so call it, right? And that command in this instance is the move forward command. And what happens when you run it? Our character keeps on going forward and forward and forward until it has reached its final destination. And in that same context, we can talk about this level 4 as well. We're going to use another repeat statement, the loop. We're going to say, hey, please execute these commands until we've reached the destination. And at this point, what we're going to do is say, hey, make one move forward, make one move to the left, make another move forward, and then turn right. And if you follow these set of commands, you'll reach the destination. And sure enough, it's going smoothly, and we will reach our destination. Level 5 is the same idea, essentially. But this time, we're not going to be putting all the lines of code into the repeat statement. We're going to say, hey, how about you move forward, and then you make a left turn, and then you keep moving forward. And let's see how that runs. And while you are learning more about this, keep in mind how in the last session we explained that order matters. Notice how the order mattered because I told the computer, hey, move forward first, and then once you've turned left, then worry about just keep moving forward. Here is the level 6. A bit more complicated, but I feel like a lot of you guys had a good gauge. And it's the same idea. We're going to be using a loop and until we have reached our destination. But this time, we have something different. This being an if statement. Now, Andrew, we're going to be explaining what if statements and if-else statements are more in next week's lesson. However, Andrew, do you want to give a brief overview of what they are?
All right, yeah. So if you are familiar with the loop, that's more generally you repeat until you do something. This is kind of like the opposite. It will only run until that condition is true. In this case, if it senses a path to the left of it, it'll do something. There's no repeating element to it. That's very different. That's very unique to a loop. But for if statements in particular, it will check if something's true, run in whatever's inside of it. If not, it will not do it. That's a basic principle behind if statements. They check if something's true and then run a statement.
Should we explain? Do you want to go into if statements today?
Explain what?
Do you want to explain if statements today?
We should probably just do the maze first, and then we can see if we have enough time.
Okay, yeah, sure. All right. So if you guys are a bit confused of what these if statements are, we have an activity and more explanations, which we'll be providing next week. But if you got the basic gist of what we were explaining is that if statements are basically going to only run if a certain condition is met. So sort of related to like a loop, loops run until a certain condition is met, and if statements only run if a certain condition is met. So in this case, we'll say that how about repeat this process until we reach the destination, and if there is a path to the left, how about you make a left? Otherwise, just keep on moving forward. There we go. All right. So now we've gone through last week's 3 to 6 levels, and we'll start these 7 through 8. But before that, should we go over the if statements right now, and then we can?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So we were going to explain what these if statements were next week, but we feel like that.
Wait, hold on. Do we have the slides ready?
Yeah.
Hold on, let me go on there real quick because we are I don't know how long should this session run today. Hold on, give me a second. Yeah, maybe we should wait for the next day.
Okay, all right. That's fine. Yeah, so we do have the if statements lesson, which will be next week. And like usual, we want you guys to keep playing around and first do some stuff yourself, and then we provide the explanations. So we'll just keep on moving forward for today. And we'll do one more exercise, this being the number 7. So if you guys are on it, please get on it. So let's go. All right. So we probably will have to still use the loop because we don't have enough blocks otherwise, and we want to keep making sure the computer executes the command until our condition of being at the end is met. But this time, we're probably going to have to use an if statement, but probably not just if the condition of going ahead is met. I'd say that if there's a path to the right, we'll tell our character to turn to the right. Otherwise, let's keep on moving forward. Let's see if that works. And there we go.
Notice how we didn't actually have to go through the other paths. We sort of like save time by only going through the paths that matter.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I feel like this will be a good endpoint for the exercises, Andrew.
Yeah, I think we're done.
Yeah. So, all right. All right. So for next week, so before I get to next week, we covered a lot of different material today. We went over what variables were, what functions were, what loops were. And we hope that you guys, are starting to piece together some of these pieces and some terminology and being able to relate it to the actual block coding exercises. And for next week, we want you guys to finish the whole maze activity. We have 3 levels left, that being level 8, level 9, and level 10. We will be going through those answers next week, and we will also be talking about more terminology and doing an activity with what are if-else statements. We sort of did an overview today, and we're going to talk more about the nitty-gritty next week. But other than that, we will be posting the answers to the maze on this weekend like we did last week. And if you guys have any questions, as always, Andrew and I are always checking the Google Classroom. Feel free to leave a comment, any concern, anything you want to share with us, and we'll get back to you guys soon. So other than that, we hope that you guys had a fun time. As always, learn some cool stuff, and have a great time. See you guys.
All right. Thanks for coming.